So sometimes a rumor sounds so crazy that you don't even think much about it. And here we are now today with Scalebound back in the news. And what you're about to hear is going to sound crazy, and I don't know the definitive answer, and I wish I did, because maybe I'd tell you, I don't know, but I look at this, and this is an interesting situation that appears to be unfolding. It's not technically new, I guess. So the idea of a Scalebound revival has been getting kicked around quite a bit in the rumor mill. I'm actually surprised that it's not really been thrown out there much, because it's been around for a bit, and I'm going to be honest, it would have been too crazy for a lot of people to do something like write an article like this about. I would have never talked about it or anything until there was more concrete information. Even if I had like 18 sources or something, it would have been really tough to talk about this because it sounds crazy. But here we are talking about it. This is actually from Nintendo Insider, and they decided to publish an article about Scalebound being the resurrected game for the Nintendo Switch. Now, if you search on Google, Nintendo Switch, Scalebound, you're going to find a lot of people having talked about this idea in lists or rumors or things on, whether it's on 4chan or Game FAQs, or I'm sure other forums like NeoGAF back in the day, and all kinds of places. This has come up. People have talked about this possibly being a thing. People have talked about it showing up as a game that wouldn't necessarily appear on the Xbox. The Switch wasn't always named. It was kind of thrown around. It was kind of mixed in there. I think that was more of a wish rather than anything else. I think most people just wanted to see this come out. There were ideas that it could go third party, right? Maybe Platinum would fund it themselves in some way, or maybe they would go and get a company to help fund this. But the issue has always been, if you remember, Scalebound has been held by Microsoft. In fact, they did renew the trademark, and I remember this because we talked about this because we hoped that it meant something would happen with it. However, it seemed like nothing was going to happen as they discussed that very thing, that it would not happen. So, okay, Microsoft has the trademark. They're not going to do anything with it. They'll just hold on to it forever, I guess. They'll just hold on to it. And that's kind of where it kind of left off, right? We stopped thinking about it. We said, oh, okay, Microsoft's not going to do much with it. If you saw the game on the Xbox, it didn't run great. But it looked pretty cool. I liked the idea. It was neat, and it would have been interesting to see what Platinum would have done with it. The issue seemed to be that Microsoft wanted multiplayer to be added in. It seemed like Platinum had the idea of it being mostly a single-player experience, and they seemed to disagree on that because the game wouldn't quite work correctly with multiplayer, and at least that was the big challenge, the big struggle. So it seemed like it fell through. We know Microsoft canceled it and they kind of moved on from there. There is this perception that there is like bad blood between Microsoft and Platinum. However, based on sources and things that I've heard, they're actually okay. It's not like they're like mad at each other anymore or anything like that. It was more amicable, I think, than people realize. They're actually fine. So it's nothing like that, how people might picture that whole breakup to happen there. With Scalebound. So what's interesting about this situation here and why people are really thinking that this could happen, it comes down to the trademark. So this is why it's crazy to think about this, but there is a reason people are talking about this now. Here's the Scalebound trademark. Okay. This is an old look at it. Right? Here is the current trademark owners, Microsoft. And a lot of us would look at that and said, okay, Microsoft owns it. They're going to keep owning it. What I'm actually showing you is from the Wayback Machine from 2017, mid 2017, late 2017. Here's what the trademark looks like today. The trademark is actually abandoned. There is no statement of use filed. Microsoft just stopped caring about it. It has been completely abandoned. Now, I would like to hear from some people who may be very familiar with copyright law and how all this would work and the procedure, but from what a lot of people are gathering, the Scalebound name could be possibly moved from Microsoft at this point, whether Microsoft wants to move it themselves or someone wants to wait it out and pick it up and then use it. I would like to think that Microsoft would actually have sold it or done something with it outside of that, but based on what I'm seeing with the trademarks, they don't seem that interested in it. And in fact, we can actually look at the trademark filings everywhere for the most part. Brazil, interestingly enough, seems to still have it registered as Microsoft Corporation, and it's still registered. Everywhere else, though, it's ended. It's ended everywhere. Like you can see, Japan, US, it is just flat out abandoned. And that's why people are reacting to this now as this is starting to show up. And from what has been passed around before, it sounds crazy. The idea of Scalebound moving from Microsoft after they cancel it to Nintendo is a bit hard to believe. It is, right? So let me talk to you a bit about Platinum Games. So once I start seeing this pop up more, because the reason that I thought this was crazy myself, and I talked about it earlier, of course, I said it was impossible, but it is very unlikely, is because I have talked to some who are familiar with Platinum Games, multiple people actually, and Platinum Games apparently has no idea what's going on with Scalebound, from what has been passed around. I don't know how old that information is. I don't know if people are left out of the loop. And I have some theories about how this could actually happen based on the information I've heard, but there's a reason this is rumor wave, because I cannot confirm yes or no if this is happening or not, but it's a situation to keep an eye on, and this is the information that I have in front of me now. So Nibble's also been posting about it, and it seems like myself and others aren't the only ones to have heard about something possibly happening with Scalebound last year, I think. It's been a bit. It wasn't ever anything really serious to me, right? Because I didn't think anything would ever come from Scalebound. I figured it'd be that one game that people would have just been like, it would have been great if it came out. So Nibble's been keeping up on this. He posted, of course, about the Nintendo Insider thing, which, by the way, that page crashed. I'll put the link down below. You can read the article yourself, because they point out a lot of the trademark stuff and talk about it a bit further. But I think their site crashed from traffic, which, yeah, I mean, they were the first ones to really post it. They went with apparently their sources that they believe and have been reliable to them. But Alana Pierce also talks about it, saying, I was told Scalebound would still come out, just not as an Xbox exclusive by someone I consider fairly credible, all the way back in June last year, but didn't believe them. Maybe it is true. Yeah, that's kind of the situation I think a lot of people were in. There are a lot of rumor waves I don't make because I don't even believe this stuff happening half the time. So I have to make sure I can really at least see that there is some kind of credibility to it before I start throwing it around. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of people who might speak up about Scalebound, but there's also going to be a lot of people who are probably going to go against it, possibly people who worked at Platinum Games. Now, some of the theories I have based around this, let's say, just for a second, that this is something that's happening. Okay, let's just pretend, right? Hypothetically, this is something that's happening, because Hideki Kamiya would be the lead on it, but if, let's say Nintendo went out, they got the trademark, Microsoft let it abandon, or they sold it, and it's going to be re-registered by Nintendo when they reveal it, or right before they reveal it, or some way to get around that. The only thing I think of is Hideki Kamiya is one of the few people that know about it. It's being developed internally at Nintendo, and he is basically consulting on it and helping work on it internal Nintendo. Nintendo, of course, and Platinum have a pretty good relationship. We see, Astral Chain, other games start to show up, Bayonetta. It's they of course seem to like Platinum Games. They have a good relationship, so I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened. The other thing I can think of is Platinum Games just is not at all part of it anymore, which would be weird, but Nintendo would pick it up and they would develop it internally. Again, seems weird because I feel like Platinum Games would be involved in that, and I look at the lineup that Platinum Games has now, and they would be dealing with a lot of games. They have Bayonetta, they have, of course, Astral Chain that they're working on, they would be working on Scalebound, then they would be working, of course, on the game them and Square Enix are working on, so that would be a lot. That would be 4 big games, and they keep talking about how there is other games this year that they have been referring to. Maybe they were talking about Astral Chain. This would be the biggest year yet for Platinum Games. And I don't know how much of a workforce Platinum Games has to make that happen. It seems crazy to me that Scalebound would be a thing. But it's not impossible. And that's the part that keeps coming back to me. I'm like, it's not impossible for it to happen. And I have to admit, Nintendo Insider seems very, very serious about this. They seem to really believe their sources. And they do mention multiple believable sources that they are confident in. All right. So first of all, I was hoping it was Mega Man Legends 3 that Imran Khan was talking about. And he seems to have kicked this whole thing off with speculation. And it's interesting to me to hear Scalebound get thrown around right away after, of course, it being passed around in the background as a rumor online with, the message boards and 4chan and everything. All of a sudden that gets brought up. I do feel like there is a lot of hope that it would come back some way, somehow. And we're even talking about it shifting hands from Microsoft to Nintendo and maybe Platinum Games maybe being involved. We don't know. It's all over the place right now. Would this be one of the craziest reveals that could happen? Yes, I can't think of another time. I don't even know if Bayonetta 2 isn't even this big. This would rock the gaming world pretty hard if this happened. I question what would happen with Xbox fans. I don't think it would be pretty because that is a big get for Nintendo and I think a big loss for Microsoft. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen here if this is a thing. I also don't even know when it'll be revealed, even if this happened. Like, it could be years, This could be something that's like later on in the Switch's life. It could be nothing. The big question is going to come down to, and it's something you'll want to keep an eye on, if Imran Khan can get whatever sources he was talking about before and publish or post his article, that will tell us exactly what game he's talking about. And if he's not talking about Scalebound, then all of this would probably go away because his entire tease is what's triggered all of this. So if he shows up and is like, oh no, it's Project Hammer. If he shows up as like, oh no, it's Mega Man Legends 3. I think all of a sudden people will stop talking about Scalebound. It's just interesting to me that a lot of people have heard about it, but no one seemed to believe it. So it's an interesting situation, exciting situation maybe, because I wanted to play Scalebound. It looked interesting enough, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about this whole situation. It's obviously a very Japanese-influenced game. Microsoft doesn't have a big foothold in Japan. I think that's the real reason they canceled it. Nintendo, on the other hand, does. And I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo wanted to fund something like this. So let me know what you guys think about this. I know it sounds crazy. It really does. So let me know your take on this. I'm like in the middle here. I'm like 50-50 on this whole thing. I think we need to actually hear from Imran first of all to see what he's even talking about, if it is Scalebound. And then I'd like to see if someone like Hideki Kamiya could chime in on this. That's the biggest thing. Can he actually say something about this? Because he said, oh, it'd be cool if Nintendo funded it for the Wii U or something like Scalebound for the Wii U. Maybe they had that idea when Microsoft was struggling with it and wanted to get rid of it. But let me know what you guys think down below. Make sure you like the video if you liked it. Dislike if not. And guys, I will see you next time.